This is Ben Allen. I'm excited today to be meeting with Sylvia Robinson from Tolmar. She was hired into her role there as an HR superstar. The owner of the company thought, here is a person who's going to make a big impact on our company. And I have the honor of talking to her about some of her successes over the past few years and to have her share some awesome knowledge and best practices with us on how manufacturing companies can be better at what they do. So, Sylvia, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ben. I'm glad to talk to you today.
So I want to just start off with the concept of branding. Talk to me about how Tolmar has elevated their name within your community up north.
Well, I think one of the things that Tolmar realized as I was coming on board is that they really weren't known in the community. People might have driven by one of their facilities and seen their name, but I think they really didn't know who they were, what they did, how big of a company they are, and all the great work that we do at Tolmar of making pharmaceuticals for our patients. And so we wanted to just elevate our name in the community so that people would list us among the larger employees or larger employers, and have us named in, here's the top 10 employers in northern Colorado or in Fort Collins or wherever those lists were. We wanted to be on those lists. So the way that we undertook that was for me to go out and just connect in the community, to show up pretty much at every event that I could find. My first year, I think I just, I was at everything. I wanted to meet everyone at all the different chamber events, at the different workforce committees, at events that had to do with our industry, like the Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership. So I just made sure that I was at those events and that I was introducing myself as someone from Tolmar. And I remember that first year, I felt like every time I introduced myself, I had to say, I'm from Tolmar. We're a manufacturer of pharmaceuticals in Northern Colorado. And, I had to kind of give this little mini stump speech every time. And now I feel like I can just say, I'm Sylvia Robinson from Tolmar. And most people know who that is. So it's pretty neat.
Before this, we spoke a little bit about how important these strategic relationships are for you. Do you want to give us an example of one of those relationships that you created out of that work that you were doing, pounding the pavement, and how that's affected Tolmar right now?
Yeah, I mean, part of my work was employer branding, but it was also about building our talent pipeline. And one of the things that I did was I got connected in a bioscience group of HR people that met most of the time in Boulder. And it was convened by the Colorado Bioscience Institute and Association. And we were just meeting in a roundtable style, trying to figure out, how do we get more students to know about pharmaceutical jobs, and how do we get them interested in coming into our industries out of high school? And we were talking about, what were the skills we needed? What were we looking for? Were we looking for college graduates? Were we looking for high school graduates? And so there was kind of a mix of that. Like, a lot of us had labs where we might need someone with a couple of years of science background, but not necessarily a 4-year degree. And so we just continued to dig on that question together. And the person from Colorado Bioscience Institute was just, helping us try to come up with ideas and things to look at. And we finally, as a group, landed on partnering with a PTech program, which that is a program that's in the state where businesses partner with a community college and a local school district, and your employees provide mentoring for high school students. And those students are all in a particular program of study, but while they are in high school, they're concurrently enrolled in that community college so that they can finish high school with a college degree as well as their high school diploma, and it's all paid for by the state. So we thought that was a great program and a perfect fit for our group that joined together. So we partnered with Agilent and Avexis. They are our other partners that are pharmaceutical companies in the area. And We will also later be providing paid internships for those students. We have them on our campus and do tours and hands-on science activities and all kinds of fun stuff. And we go show up at the high school sometimes and have pizza and games with them. So it's just a great relationship. But in all of that, we've built relationships. So I have relationships now with people at Avexis and people at Agilent, and our employees that are mentors have relationships with other mentors from those companies. And so it really just builds lots of really strong relationships. And yeah, so from that, recently we've had, I was able to draw on that relationship. So I don't know if you want me to go into that story right now or not.
Uh, I think, you know what? I want you to talk about that. But first, do you want to just high level a little bit? If I am a 30-person manufacturer and I can't afford someone like yourself, do you have some specific recommendations? You talked about a bunch of things that if they don't have time to do all the
Mhm.
things that you described, what do you think are the best things for them to be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ben, because lots of manufacturers are not, giant companies. We even consider ourselves as a manufacturer that we're a medium-sized pharmaceutical company because there are lots of pharmaceutical companies that are way bigger than Tolmar. But for a smaller company, I think it's really important to um, just encourage your employees to make some relationships. I think to get involved in some local groups, that might be a chamber group, it might be the NOCO Manufacturing Sector Partnership. Um, but just trying to encourage your employees to get out of their box a little bit and go to some of those events and just get to know some people. I know that sometimes that's hard to, you know, want to go do an event at the end of a long work day, but I think there's a lot of encouragement that people find in that, just to be able to hear from other people that are doing the same kinds of work and have the same kinds of struggles that you have, to be able to go, wow, like that's not just us, like we're normal. And to be able to offer ideas to each other and have somebody to go, hey, we tried that and here's how we figured out that it works best. And so
Yeah.
just those interactions are really invaluable. And then to, if you're an employer and you're allowing your employees and encouraging your employees to go out and be a part of that, that you would ask them, so what are you getting out of that? And can you share in our meeting, like what's something you went to recently and who did you meet? What did you learn or whatever, letting them share that back out, or back in to your organization so that they can enrich the whole group. It's really going to be a valuable thing. For You don't have to be a part of everything. And even I've kind of whittled it down now. Like I went to everything at first, and now it's kind of, I have a lot going on, so I have to put more energy into certain things more than others. But I still have all those relationships that I made, and like the time that I spent even in those organizations where I'm less involved or I'm not in leadership, um, those still are really valuable relationships to me. So I think you can kind of think of your whole, instead of having a one person me, going out and making all the relationships, which is one way to do it and still very effective. You could send out a group of your employees to make a whole bunch of separate relationships, as long as you recognize that that's happening and bring the value back into your company and get them to share what they're gleaning out of
I love the answer. That's great. That concept that one person, for example, owns the Chamber of Commerce relationship, uh, it spreads the love across the company, which I think is terrific. And so now I would like to come back to your original point. I believe you were talking about the talent pipeline.
that. Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat, or could you take us more down that road that you were bringing us to earlier?
Yeah, so we've done a number of things, and I talked about the PTech piece, which I can come back to, but we also partner with CareerWise, which is a Colorado organization, a nonprofit that's bringing back the idea of apprenticeships, youth apprenticeships. In fact, their tagline is modern youth apprenticeships. So they are taking that European model of apprenticeships and bringing that back into back well, I guess we had apprenticeships long, long ago in America when we were, maybe more influenced by modern um, or by European, our heritage, but we had gone away from that. So we are Tolmar's partnering with CareerWise. We have two apprentices right now that work in our manufacturing area that are they both started before they were 16. They were both almost 16. They've now been with us for a year, and they are thriving. People love to have those two apprentices on their team. When they switch shifts, when school's in or out, it kind of allows them to switch around to different supervisors, and the supervisors, every single one of them loves to have those students on their team. So they just bring an excitement and strength to their teams, and just like being happy to do their jobs. And we love having them around. We are looking to hire two more that will start this summer. So that's another talent pipeline piece that we've started. And then just, connecting in college internships. We have a great partnership with CSU through their career center, recruiting interns. And we also have a great relationship with UNC and Greeley as well. So it's just having those relationships allows us to find out what the options are as a company and be able to bring in young workers. We also have a wonderful relationship with Larimer County, and they have an internship program for adults who are looking to reskill or upskill or try out. It's almost like a long-term, it's not an apprenticeship. Well, they call it an internship program, but it allows these adults to do things that will give them an experience at your company. It's actually paid for by Larimer County with their funding. And so they are working at Tolmar. And in fact, we just hired one onto our staff. He had started in our validation department, and now he is going to be hired onto our payroll. So we're super excited for that and how that relationship goes. Sometimes it's not a great fit, or we don't have a permanent position to put them into, but at least gives them a foot in the door at a good company. They get great experience to put on their resume, and then can look for a different job on from there. So all of those things, some of those we knew about as a company but weren't fully engaged in, but a lot of the relationships that I've built for Tolmar on behalf of Tolmar have allowed us to get engaged in those programs that have really built a talent pipeline for us in a time where, at least at the time, unemployment was really low.
Sylvia, I want to close with a point that I would love to share. You're the board chair right now of the Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership, and I am a personal believer of the work that you're trying to do with branding and the power of relationships. I believe it's so important that you actually not only attend meetings with an organization, you actually get involved, you volunteer for that organization, because that's where the special relationships are really made, when you roll up your sleeves with other people and you work together toward a common goal. So I have to give you that credit too, because I believe that's a huge part in your success, is your volunteer passion. I have one last question, if I may.
Mhm.
I'm curious, if other people want to leverage what you're doing and have questions, is it okay if someone contacts you at Tolmar with
Of course.
specific questions around what you're doing?
Of course. Or if you're interested just in a connection with any of the organizations that I mentioned, or you just want to hear more about it, about um, utilizing your local workforce center for internships and other connections, the Colorado Bioscience Association, the Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership. Those are all organizations that I would love to share. I think I said CareerWise too. So just all, and P-Tech, I could talk to you about that too. So there are just lots of different opportunities there. And I would say, um, reach out, ask somebody that's been through it, because then you can yourself decide whether or not that's a good fit for your company. Because not all of these programs work for every single company, but it's great to hear from another business person who has implemented those, and then kind of have somebody to coach you through that if you have questions. So,
Awesome. Sylvia, thank you so much. Wonderful to have you be part of this interview. I appreciate you.
all right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me on.